Hello, I am Tinne from VectoriaDesigns, and should you already be in the mood for Halloween, here is the first new Halloween kit from this year, our Raven Master kit. I swear I had absolutely no idea the second season of Wednesday was going to be all about crows and ravens. This kit was designed long before the second series came out. Sadly, I do not have a hotline to Tim Burton. Anyways, I made a tutorial with these printables to create a journal folio. It holds two thick one-signature notebooks and an envelope holder to put in the free little envelopes that you can get. If you want these free little Halloween envelopes plus all the measurements you need to make this project, just opt in via the link in the description and they're all yours. The measurements will appear in the video at the right time as well, but a PDF might be handy if you want to prepare everything before crafting. Now, if this particular project doesn't tickle your fancy at all, of course, obviously, you can use these printables for many other crafts as well. And if you don't like these Halloween designs, you can use many of our other kits or scrapbook paper to make this project. But if you would like to make this project or any other project with the printables of our Raven Master kit, I love it so much. You can check it out in my Etsy shop. There's a link for more information in the description box. And now let's start crafting. Enjoy! So this is the project that we're going to make. It's nice, thick and sturdy, and it holds, as you can see, two notebooks. I have these brads on the spines that give it a really edgy look, and it opens on this side. I'm gonna open it up like this, and here we have a pocket with a vellum window here. So this is what it looks like without the ephemera in there. You can just fill that thing up. There's a lot of room. Here we have an extra pocket that's also a little bit thicker. This is what it looked like without, and this is actually an envelope holder that you can put in there, and these envelopes, and you can print as many as you like, so really fill this up if you like, and these envelopes you get for free with the measurements if you opt in to get those. So you just really fill this up. Well, let's put a few here and add as many as you like. You can also use these for trick-or-treats, as long as whatever you're putting in there is flat. So a piece of candy will probably not fit in there, but hey, you're creative. You can think of something. Okay, let's close this up. This fits in here. And when I open it further, we have here room for two notebooks. These hold the notebooks in place. These are magnetized, by the way. And yes, this is what they look like. Look how beautiful. I have these tassels on the outside. You can choose to put them on the inside instead. Look how beautiful. I love the amount of detail here. It's incredible. So this one goes in here. Yeah, if these weren't here, they would constantly be sliding around, etc. So it's very handy to have them here. And here's the other notebook. Lots of room to write in, but lots of beautiful details to get you inspired. At VectoriaDesigns, we really love the details. That's very important for us to give you that quality. So not only if you look at it from afar, but also from close up. And you just keep discovering new details. That's the beauty of it. Okay, let's put this one in here as well, back. So that's what it looks like. And now I'm going to show you completely how to make it. Let's start. Okay, let me show you what I've printed. I printed a few of the papers from the kit. I printed a few of the embellishment sheets from the kit, and I printed all the journal pages because I already know I'm going to use all of them. For the papers and the embellishments, I might print more, not use all of them. I'm not sure at this point. We will see. But anyway, let me show you. So the papers and the embellishments, I usually print on 160 grams paper. Now my printer can handle 300 grams paper. It says so in the specifics, but I know not all of your printers can handle that. I don't want your printers to die, so I'm usually using 160 grams paper, which is about a 60-pound cover. Okay, so here I have a horizontal paper that I actually printed twice because I'm going to use that as book covers, as notebook covers. Okay, then I have here some vertical papers with very lovely patterns and more collage type papers. Another horizontal one. Vertical one, yes. Really love this type of paper. And then here are a few of the embellishment sheets. Some fussy cuttings, some cards. Really love this kit. Okay, and then I have printed all the journal pages on 120 grams paper. You can print them on lighter paper, but then they become a little bit more see-through. So I found that 120 grams is like sturdier than regular paper. But there are a lot of weights in between. Just print on the paper weight that you like best. I printed these on both sides, so the front on 100% and the back on 2% higher, I think. And then when I cut out the front, I won't have any white edges if the printer shifts a little bit. So I printed all 24 pages on the front and all 24 pages on the back, and I'm going to make 2 little notebooks out of these. Okay, let me quickly go through them. Look how pretty. Look how pretty the details are. That's one of the main things I taught my design team, how to really get these detailed results. See? So rich. Some papers have lots of room to write on, like this one and this one. Some halves are completely filled, which means they are very inspiring for the rest of the journal, and some have partial place to write on. Look at this! We take extra pride in that. There. I'm going to start with making these 2 notebooks because how large they are will determine the whole rest of the project. I printed these, not borderless, on an A4 paper because I live in Europe, with the setting fit to page. And for me, that results in these being 8 inches high, and after cutting, they are about 10¼ inch wide unfold. Now the results of how large these will come out of your printer will depend on your printer, on your settings, etc. So if you can get your journal pages to also come out of your printer at 8 inches high, you can use my measurements. If not, you can use the guidelines how to adjust everything. As I said before, I printed these on 120 grams paper, double-sided, and I divided them in 2 piles because we're gonna make 2 notebooks with these. So 12 sheets here, 12 sheets here. If you're using thinner paper, you can add more sheets, etc. And I'm also going to add these. I printed them at the same size as the cover. Now, because the cover can be a little bit more sturdy, I printed these on 160 grams paper. Look, all these things are your choice, you know? I'm just telling you what I do, and then you choose what you will do. And on the back, I printed this paper. So I have here my piles for the notebooks. I'm gonna start with this one. I put the cover on top. And then simply, I am going to fold this in half. It's going to be a nice and thick notebook. There. Going to use my bone folder for a bit. And actually, to see where I need to sew, I am also going to fold this one separately in half. Then I have a crisp fold, and then I can just put this back on. Yes, of course, because it's such a thick bunch, these are going to stick out here. See, it's going into a point. That's normal. Now, if you just have blank pages instead of all these beautiful journal pages, you can just trim these off. But I'm not gonna do that because then I will lose a significant part of these beautiful journal pages. So I don't mind at all. Okay. I'm gonna do the second booklet later because now I want to make some holes in here so I can sew these together. You can also use staples instead of sewing these, of course. And I'm going to use my ruler to see where I want my holes. I'm going to make 5 holes, so I'm going to do a 5-hole pamphlet stitch. I have become a fan of that because it keeps the pages so much better together than with 3 holes. Okay, I want a hole like a... Wow, I have to go in there. 1 inch from the edge. Yeah, with the fold here, I can really see very well where I want to go. So 1 inch from the edge, 1 inch from the edge, and 1 in the center. And then you can actually choose. It doesn't have to be exactly in the center here. I'm gonna make it easy for myself. I'm just gonna go 1.5 inches from the center out. You can really play with the placement of these holes, of course. Okay, I'm gonna go outside in because on the inside they're usually not that pretty. And then I am going to use some thread. I used some black thread, and normally for the length I do like more than the height and then twice, but I'm gonna add a little bit extra. Well, quite a bit extra, like 5 inches extra or something. Normally I will start on the inside, then I just cut off everything very neatly on the inside so you hardly see it. But now I want the ends to stick out on the outside to act as a pull. Okay, I'm gonna cut this off. There. And I'm simply using embroidery thread. So I think for mine, because you probably want to know what I'm left over with, 12, 24, I have 27 inches of this. Okay, I have my needle here. And as I said, I'm gonna start outside in, so outside in, and then we're just weaving. I'm gonna leave a tail out here about, I don't know, 5-6 inches. And then I'm gonna go to either side, back out, and then the next one back in, very easy. And then there is no next one, so I have to go back through the previous one. It's a little bit trickier, try to not catch any other threads. There, and then back in through the center hole. And then I'm gonna go to the other side. This is going to really quickly. Yep, okay. And then back in. And then I'm at the end, so I'm gonna go back out. There, and now I'm gonna check if all my loops are not too loose, so they're nice and not loose. There. Check your loops, and then I'm gonna go under this last loop first, this other loop there. And then I'm gonna make not too nice knots, 2, 3, whatever you want. But first check your loops that they're not too loose. Okay, and then I'm going to make these even. There. And now these act as a pull, or I can add some beads on it or something else, or just leave it as it is. Okay, and now this is bound, but still a little bit stiff. Look how pretty. So I'm going to just use my bone folder to trim, not all pages, but some of these pages. So if I use this, it will fall open nice and flat to write in it, etc. Oh, look how pretty this is. Sorry, I'm just excited. Wonderful job, team. Okay. There, the first booklet is done. And now I'm going to make the second one exactly the same. Let's now start with the base. We're going to start with 3 pieces, and I'm using 220 grams cardstock for this. Normally I would use 300 grams because it's sturdier. But I have a whole bunch of this black cardstock that is 220 grams, so I'm going to use that. And the result will also be pretty sturdy. So I'm happy enough with that. Plus, this cardstock kind of feels quite sturdy. You have cardstock in the same paperweight and still one is a lot sturdier than the other. Just go for something very sturdy. At first I am going to start scoring. So this largest one I'm going to score at 1/2 inch, 1 1/8 inch, and 6 3/4 inch. This one, the second largest, I am going to score at 1/2 inch again, and 1 1/4 inch. And this last piece, I'm not gonna score. I'm just gonna leave it as it is. This can go away for a bit. And now let's fold. And this one actually I'm going to fold the other way. There. And now these pieces are tabs, these top pieces, and with those tabs I'm going to attach these to the last piece. Before I'm going to do that, I am going to cut these corners here from the fold inward a little bit. So just like that. Yes, I'm using black cardstock, but I have a lot of light on them here. So I hope you will see every crease, little thing that I'm making and doing, like this. Okay, so now these two, I'm going to put some double-sided tape on top, these tabs, right next to that fold, not on the fold. You can use glue as well, absolutely. Just only put glue on there right before you're going to actually glue something to another part, because this will stay sticky for a long time, but glue usually doesn't. Okay. Like this. Make sure this sticks. Going to remove that backing. And now I'm going to put this other piece that didn't have a fold right next to that fold again, lining up top and bottom. There, nice. And the other side I'm going to glue onto this piece. I find it the easiest to put the piece with the glue or the tape, like this tape on top, and then just glue this on top. Make sure these folds are going that way, and these are also going that way, that they're all going the same way, only this one is going the other way. Like this. And then when I close it, it will look like this. So this is the really rough base. But if that's done, you've already made a great start. Now, I'll turn this around, because this piece here we will close later on, and it will be a pocket. You can put some ephemera in there, or envelopes, or letters, whatever you want. But before I'm gonna do that, I am going to cut out a window. This is optional. If you don't like to cut a window here, just forward the tutorial a little bit. Okay, I'm going to measure 3/4 inch from each side, and that is going to be my window. Now, you can make it as small and as large and with any shape that you like. This is just what I'm going to do. So I'm going to measure from this fold 3/4 inch. This, yes, on the back side, this is going to close. I can make as many marks as I want to. Also 3/4 inch from the other side. And then also 3/4 inch from the top and the bottom. There. And now I'm going to use a craft knife and a metal ruler to cut out this window. Be careful when you're doing this. Yeah, when the corners don't come loose immediately, don't start pulling, because then you're getting these fluffy, papery bits and maybe you tear everything. Just go back in and just push on the corners with your craft knife on the places that are still hanging. Yeah, oh, there it is. You can use this for something else if you like. Okay. And now I'm going to put a piece of vellum under here. You can use a piece of this wrapping plastic if you like. You can, whatever you want. I just have this leftover piece of tracing paper. This is printable tracing paper. I'm just going to cut it a little bit smaller because my small tape is 1/4 inch wide. And I'm gonna make sure it will cover that. I'm just eyeballing this. I'm going to cut these pieces off now so that it will cover the window plus the tape that I'm going to put on the side. Doesn't have to be super precise, but just do your best precise. You know, do your best precise. That's a thing. And now here I have this 1/4 inch tape that I'm going to put right next to that window. Oh, I think I'm putting it on there too wide. I don't want any sticky bits. So make sure this is large enough that it actually covers the whole tape area. Because otherwise, if you try to put things in your pocket, it will stay, it will stick, you know? That's all okay, just a tiny bit here. So what I'm gonna do is remove all these backings and just use this to push back that tape layer a tiny bit. Yeah, that's more than enough. Usually this works. You can also put a piece of regular tape on top. Just make sure you don't have any sticky bits. And then I'm going to place this on top. Make sure I don't have any wrinkles. And I'm also going to put some regular tape. It could be washi tape, whatever you want, whatever you have, just here, that you don't catch with papery thingies behind this piece, this edge here. I'm just going to use regular tape. Yeah. And this will help that everything slides in there perfectly without catching behind this little edge here. Okay. Okay. And now the idea is to close this. But before I'm going to do that, I'm going to glue a panel here on top. And the panel I chose is this one. This will cover this whole part. Now, if you don't have a window in here, you don't have to have the panel come this far, you know, this is enough. But since mine is see-through, I made sure that this design went up till here. Okay, before I'm going to glue it in, I'm just going to use some black ink because I'm using black paper to ink the edge. This is totally optional. Use any color that you like. Maybe you're making this project with a totally different non-Halloween kit and using pink cardstock instead, and the result will be completely different. Okay, and now I can put this in. Yes, I usually cut all my panels already up front and right on the back where it's for. So choose a panel for this part, and you're having a window like mine, make sure whatever is behind the window is still interesting, even though you're going to put some things in there. Okay, and now I'm going to put some tape, double-sided tape, the small one, or whatever you have, on the edges and close that whole window. That whole pocket, I mean. Like this. If you're using glue, make sure to put a tiny bit of glue on the edges. Okay, now carefully close it like this. There, part one's done. And now, this will come like this. And I want a ribbon to come out here. And I want a ribbon to come out here. And I'm already going to attach them. So I have these ribbons. They are 12 inches long each, and I'm going to use those. I wish I had something dark bluey for this kit, but I'll have to deal with black. Okay. I'm just going to find the center and make a mark, which is right here. Here as well. I'm not making the mark up to the end because that will be bare. The outer 1/8 of an inch, 3 millimeter will be bare, so I'm not making a mark on there. Anywhere else, you're safe. And let's see how wide this is. 2 of these. Yeah, that's good. Okay, I'm going to put a piece of tape about, I don't know, 1.5 inch. One right above. So this is 3/8 of an inch wide. Just make sure it fits for your ribbon size. Maybe you have very small ribbons, just use one. And I'm going to cut it off at least 1/8 of an inch from the edge because, as I said, this will be exposed. And then one below that mark. One on the other side as well, leaving 1/8 of an inch, 3 millimeter from the edge. One below this. Okay. And now remove this. And I'm going to see, yeah, this is the non-shiny side. I'm gluing this right here, straight as you can. Non-shiny side down, shiny side up. And I glued it about, yeah, 1 3/4 of an inch from the edge. Gonna do the same with this one. Yep, perfect. There. And now when I close the whole thing, this will be the front, and we can tie this booklet together right here. Being very careful here because we're not ready yet. But now that the ribbons are on, I can already, sorry, upside down, I can already add, glue these panels on top. So the front and the back, choose very beautiful panels. This is going to be the front one. This is going to be the front, and this is going to be the back. You can embellish it as much as you want. I am going to put this one on the front. Now this is normally a larger paper, like a full paper, but I printed it at 75% to get to this size. Or if you want this as well, you can also use 1/2 of the horizontal paper that I used for the covers of these notebooks. You can use that one as well if the sizes are a bit okay. Just find the panels that you want to use to embellish, experiment with the percentages, etc. to really get in your project what you want. If you're making this larger because your pages are larger, etc., you need to choose something else or only cut out the center part here when it's larger. You can play with it. Okay. I'm just going to, oh, wait, you know what? What I'm going to do before I'm going to add some glue on this panel is I'm going to glue a piece of tape right here where the ribbon is going to go. Just so it sticks better. Yeah, I wanted to make sure I was gluing it on the right side. Okay, right next to that edge here. Removing this. And then I'm just going to put some glue all over. If you want your project to last really long, use wet glue, tacky glue, etc. Fabri-Tac. It's just this is way faster for a tutorial and it sticks pretty well. It just might not hold up for years and years and years. Okay, now I'm just putting this in the center right here. Keep in mind this is the front cover, that's the back cover. There. And I already inked all these edges, by the way. This one's going to be on the back. And I already also inked these edges. And I think, yeah, on this side, I'm going to also put a piece of tape for that ribbon to make sure it sticks really, really, really well. And then glue on top. If you're using wet glue, make sure to give everything a right amount of time to dry. Preferably flat, so with a book on top. Okie dokie. Yep. In the center, nice 8-1-inch 3mm border. There we go. There. Again, when I close it, it's going to look like this. It's starting to look like something, I know. Now, here and here, I'm going to attach pockets that will hold these notebooks, journals that we made earlier. For these pockets, I need also 2 pieces of cardstock. And I'm just going to show you how to make one. The other one, I'm just going to make exactly the same way. So on this side, with the shortest side on top, I'm going to score at 3.5 inch. Oops, make sure that it's straight. Yeah, 3.5 inch. And 1/4 inch wider, 3 3/4 inch. So this is the thickness. And then on both of the other sides, I'm going to score at 1/2 and 3/4. 1/2 and 3/4. There. Now we don't need everything from the sheet anymore. We're going to cut off a few pieces. So I'm going to cut off not on the first fold, but the second fold. Right up to that second scoring line, right there. And I'm going to cut it off here as well. So this is the piece that I cut off. I'm going to do that on the other side as well here. Okay, and then I'm also going to cut off the corners from these because these are tabs. Don't cut off too far, just up to the first scoring line. The other side, exactly the same. There. And this is the piece that's left. And now I'm going to fold everything inward. So use a bone folder if you need to. It's especially handy to get straight corners. Okay, and now I'm going to put some double-sided tape on these two tabs. Again, right next to that fold. Okay, I'm gonna remove one of these backings. Well, actually both. I think that's easier for later. Just make sure this is not going to stick to anything that you don't want to. Okay, I'm gonna close this. And now I'm going to make sure to line up this edge with that fold here and make sure this is all straight. Straight corners, straight folds. There. There. And to make sure this tab is sticking, just put something in there like a ruler. Don't push with your fingers or you're going to flatten all these beautiful folds you just made. And on the other side, exactly the same. So make sure all these corners here are 90-degree corners and line up this edge with that fold. There you go. When everything sticks. There, and this one will fit in there nicely, like this. This one's done. I'm quickly going to make the other one exactly the same way. You know what? I forgot something. And I can still do it on this one, but since I am in the process of making this one, I am already going to show you what I forgot, and I'm going to do it so you can do it as well. And that is to put a border of double-sided tape on this piece here. So this is going to be the back that's going to be sticking inside our base. And I can still do it later, but I have the danger of flattening these folds, so it's better to do that up front. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. So it's just easier to do it first when everything is still not assembled. Yes, and just leave the backing on. If you're using glue, no need to do that now because we're not going to stick it in anyway. Okay, I'm going to finish this one here. Now, I have here my two pockets. One already has some tape here. I'm gonna add some tape on the other one as well. Just really careful. And I'm not even gonna use this to cut off this tape, because I am definitely going to squish everything. I'm just going to use one of my sticky scissors. And to make sure this tape is sticking, I'm not going to rub on this side, but on the inside out. I think that's much safer. There. There. Okay, and now we can glue these in. So this one will come right here, right up to that edge here. It will completely align with the edge here, and this one will completely align with the edge here. Just make sure before you put it down that you lift this up. Otherwise, if you glue it a little bit too far, you can't close your thing, your thing, your cover anymore. So just make sure to put it right next to that fold again here. And this will also nicely hide this tab here. Okay, so let's start with this one. Carefully removing that backing. And now I'm going to add some glue here. Just gonna stick my hand in there to prevent the squishing. Wet glue is a bit easier here. I'm also going over those tapes, so I have a little bit of time to slide them in place in case I'm not positioning it right at the first time. Okay, I'm just going to turn it like this. It just works easier for me this way. I'm gonna really line up this edge here and put it right next to that fold. Trying not to push it down too easy. I have to, yeah, a bit lower. This is folding perfectly. There. This one's nicely in place. You might already have a question right now, like, hey Tinne, why aren't you doing it that way? And I'm going to answer it in a minute. First going to attach this one right here, exactly the same way. Yes, I have my hand here. I'm really spreading my fingers so I can protect everything from squishing. Okay, that's enough glue. And I'm going to glue this one really up to that edge on 3 sides. That's good. There. You might think, why did you put also like a backing in these pockets? Because if you just had some tabs on these sides as well, you can put a book in there as well. You don't really need that back here. Why waste such extra cardstock? Well, the reason that I made it with a back as well, so a full box and not just a front and 3 tabs, is that it will make this whole thing sturdier. I mean, the more layers on top of each other, the more sturdy this will be, especially with this lighter cardstock that I'm used to use. So yes, if you think it's all sturdy enough, I don't need a back here, you can just make them with the side tabs instead of the whole backing here. Okay, to prevent these from sliding out like this, because there's still some room left, they're not completely stuck in there, because yeah, I might want to add some really nice things to these pages and it will become thicker. So prevent this from sliding out the whole time, I am going to add some closures here. Here one, here one. And for that I have these 2 pieces of cardstock. And I'm quickly going to score them. One at half an inch, and at 3/4 inch. Half an inch, 3/4 inch, that's it. I'm going to fold them. And they will be attached here and here somewhere. I still need to choose the right placement with the panels that I chose. But they will be glued in here and they will get a magnet later to close here, and this will all keep the books in there nice and tight and they will not shuffle around the whole time. I'm also going to cut off these tabbies right here, I mean the corners from the tabs, quickly. Add some tape to these tabs. If you're using glue, don't use the glue yet, because we still have to measure where they come. But what I am going to do is already round these corners. Now, I wish I had this beautiful, intricate corner punch that would suit this Halloween kit very well, like a bit of a Baroque thing. But the only corner punches I have are these just round corner thingies. So I'm gonna use these. If you have fancy punches, you can definitely use them here. You can also make this narrower or wider, depending on what you want to put on there. It really doesn't matter how wide they are. Now, first I need to glue these into place, but before I do that, I need to know which panels, which designs will come upon these pockets here. And I chose these ones. They come from a paper from the pack. I think I want one about here. And you can put the other one at the same height, but since I'm working with magnets and they have a certain thickness, I want to put this one like here so they won't disturb each other. That's a choice. Now, if you don't have anything interesting going on right here, you can put them wherever you want, one here and one here, for example, in the center, or if you have patterns on top instead of a design like this. But obviously I don't want to hide these crows here, these ravens, because they're the star of this whole kit. Can't hide them. Okay, so I'm going to measure. Where's my pencil? I want this one. So I'm not gluing this in yet because I need to attach magnets, etc. first. I'm going to glue this one right here. Yeah, it might be strange what I'm doing. If you want it really symmetrical, put one right under the center line and the other right on top of the center line. I'm going to go asymmetrical today. Yes. Okay, so this one goes right here. And then this one, I want somewhere where it doesn't disturb this one. So right here. Yeah, here. So I'm completely deciding the placement of this because I want these on top here. Okay, later on, I will also put these on the inside, but for that I first need to glue these in place, see? So that this will cover this tab on the side, this tab on the side, this tab. This will cover all the tabs. Okay, yeah, I'm going to remove this backing here. Fold the tab over because I want to put this fold about 1/8 of an inch from that fold, because that's where I want to position this. So not against the fold, but about 1/8 of an inch, 3 millimeters from the fold, and right on top of that mark that I just made, and make sure everything's straight. Happy with that. Whew, you have to do so many things at the same time when crafting. There. Keeps you smart, keeps you on edge. There. Same with this one. Folding it over. So I am aligning this bottom with that mark I just made. And then I want to put this fold about 1/8 of an inch from that edge, from that fold, I mean. Yes! So let's come a bit closer so you can actually see what I mean better. See, this is an 1/8 of an inch from that fold. This one's an 1/8 of an inch from that fold. Well, I'm eyeballing it. See, and right. I aligned it with my mark here. So these are not interfering with each other, and they are also not hiding any of my important pieces from the design. There. That was the whole point. And now I'm going to glue these panels in here, because now I can. There. And they will also prevent anything from catching behind that, the back of this pocket here. Very easy. I already inked the edges. There. So I'm gonna slide that in there and then make sure I have an 1/8 of an inch on the top and the bottom. And I'm putting this right next to that fold from this. I have to slide it in a bit more. Well, I'm gonna do it like this, then I can pull. Yeah, I'm gonna put it right next to that fold here from this closure. There, nicely into place. This corner needs glue. There. This one too. There. Functional and beautiful at the same time. This one will come here. There, it was actually very easy to put it like this. So I put it in there quite deeply. Make sure I have even space on top and bottom, and then I can just position it like this very easily right next to that fold from the closure. Yes. Yes, this is easy. This is the easiest way. Okay. There. It doesn't have to be deep until the bottom of this pocket here. Just deep enough that you won't see the edge. There. Okay, and now these will slide in like nothing, and these will keep everything closed very well. Now to close these, you can use Velcro or a circle closure if you want. I'm going to use these neodymium magnets. They're super strong and they're super tiny. So these are 1 millimeter, about a 1/16 of an inch high, and in diameter they are 3/8 of an inch, or I think 9 millimeter, yeah, 1 centimeter, right, about 1 centimeter. It really doesn't matter how big the diameter is, just something that you're comfortable working with, but the thickness as thin as you can get them. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to position the magnet in the center of my closure here, and look, you can choose this again for yourself, and about 3/4 of an inch from the side. So here, gonna measure that here as well. So 3/4 of an inch and 1 inch, because that's the center for me. But don't put it too close to the edge, so you still have room to cover with some cardstock on the back. Okay. So I made these marks on the back of the closures. I'm going to put some double-sided tape, a little piece just on top of that mark. Here as well. Making sure that sticks. I'm going to remove the backings. Then I can see through the tape again and put that magnet nicely on top in the center of that mark. This, okay. I am also going to put a piece of tape on top now. There. And then I'm gonna put a magnet on top. That's very easy to do. And then I'm going to put a tiny piece of tape on top there. Yes, there are a lot of steps. It's quite easy this way. And then I'm going to carefully remove that backing here. And then, well, you know what? I'm going to, stick that, put this in there and comfortably close this right here. There you go, and this will stick right into place. It helps when you put an extra book in here. So I'm gonna put some paper in between so it doesn't tear off everything immediately. I'm gonna put the book in here, remove that backing carefully, and then comfortably close this right here, and this will be in place. Okay, I'm first going to put some tape on top. Could have done that there as well. I don't need this for a while. There. Yeah, could have done that instead of putting the papers in between. Okay. Okie dokie. And now I can already attach the panels on top of these pockets. The edges are already inked. Oh, forgot. I need to remove this backing. And then this could go on top. Don't squish your pockets. There. Careful here. Put a book in there. There, that's better. And then around this magnet, really make sure everything sticks really well. You know, I could have, I'm not sure if it's necessary, but I could have put a piece of double-sided tape just on that edge again as well to make sure everything sticks really well, just like I did with the ribbons. I'm gonna do that with the second one. Okay, yeah, I think that's a good idea. So now this sticks really well. I'm gonna carefully open this up. Let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna put a piece of double-sided tape right here. About here. Just on that edge. Because it's a bit bumpy. This will help stick everything down better. And then glue all over the rest. Oops, forgot again. There. Before my glue stick dries, and then put everything nicely into place. Yes. Careful. Oh, should have put the book in there. Yeah, and then I can really make sure everything's down. Right. Okay. Nice. And now I'm going to put some cardstock on the back here on top of that magnet. You can cut out a square, but I'm just going to cut out circles from a leftover piece. This is a 1.5 inch punch. Okay, going to remove that backing. Since it really needs to stick, and this is of course not thin paper but actual cardstock, I'm going to use wet glue on this. So put a bunch on there, not too much. Take a glue spreader or use your finger. Make sure it's all over the edges as well, because I'm not a fan of edges that lift up. I want everything to stick really well. Okay, there we go. And since I'm using wet glue, this is a little bit more pliable. And now I just need to hold it in place until everything sticks down. Yeah, I'm trying to not get any glue on the paper because it will shine. Mission not accomplished. I mean, it's down, but I spilled a lot of glue here. So try to be neater than I am. I might put in something on top later, but normally you won't see that. Okay, I'm gonna do exactly the same with the other one, hopefully neater. You know what? If you have a sticker, that will work so much easier. Yeah. I'm not good at this. Okay. And I'm just going to glue this on top and hold until it sticks. There. Okay, I'm going to leave these to dry open like this until this piece is fully dry. Okay, this is all dry, so I can put my journals in here. They slide in really nicely. And these closures will make sure that they're not falling out. I mean, they can't go anywhere. But as I predicted, this circle is so full of glue, I have to put something on there. And I'm going to put these pieces on here. So I have some for the outside and I have some for the inside. And these are just 1/4 inch, 6 millimeter less high and wide than just this top piece. Not the side piece, just the top piece. And the same sizes for the inner parts. You can also do that immediately without adding this circle first. It's just that it's so ugly for me that I'm going to hide it literally. So you can already do that from the first time, adding something like this instead of such a circle. I hope I'm being clear here. Okay, so I cut these to size. I also rounded these corners because I rounded these, and because I have a corner rounder punch with different sizes. These were punched with the 10mm one, and then these with the 7mm one. That will be the best way, because then the curves are going quite the same. If you don't have different sizes, no worries, just take the same one. It's a tiny difference. Okay, and now I'm just going to glue these in. These are from the edges of one of the papers, and these are actually from a paper, but these are from here somewhere on the top. I cut it off, but I printed the same page twice on one page, so that's why they're smaller. Normally it's a bigger page, but the sizes are just right for me here, how they came out of my printer, so I'm going to use these. Okay, so I'm gonna put these on the inside. Let's see, yeah, this one here. There, that will cover up all the messy glue, because on black paper it shines too much. On lighter paper it wouldn't be such a problem, but yeah, on black paper. And then the other one as well. There, and then on the front. There. Nice. Okay. I'm gonna let these be for now on, and I'm going to add some brads to the spines on the outside. Absolutely optional, but when I close this, I want 4 brads here, just as a little bit of a beautiful thingy. And what you can do is also put first a paper strip on here. You can definitely do that. But I'm not going to do that. I like the black. I like some portions being really black. So I'm just going to see where I want them. And I want these in the center, of course. I need to make my marks as small as possible. 1 inch from the edge, and then 2 inches further. And here as well. Gonna put them 1 inch from the edge and 2 inches further. Look, this is something I just choose right now, and this way when we close this, the ribbon won't be in the way of these brads. They won't be covered up, but you can put them anywhere you like yourself. I'm also going to put the same marks and the same heights in the center, the same spaces. So 1 inch, and then so 1 inch from the edge, and then 2 inches further here as well. Nicely in the center. Now keep in mind that this spine is narrower than that one. And then I am going to punch holes. Carefully. Yes, of course you can make your marks on the inside as well, but I want the punch outside in. That's why I choose that. But if you make your marks on the inside, they will be covered up by the strip anyway. And then I have these tiny little brads here, brass brads. I have them in different colors. Here are the tiny brass ones that I purchased somewhere sometime ages ago. I don't even remember. And I'm going to just stick them through, open these legs, but I'm gonna make sure that the prongs are that direction so they won't stick out of the strips later. So very easy, just put them in there, gives them a bit of a bold look. And they have absolutely no purpose other than make it pretty. And you know what? That's a really good purpose. So I have put these 4 brads in the spine. Now I have this strip and it's 1/4 inch less high. And normally, as you know, I make everything also 1/4 inch less wide, but since these spines are so narrow, I only made it 1/8 inch, 3 millimeter less wide than that spine. So for me, that's enough. So 1/4 inch, 6 millimeter less high, 1/8 inch, 3 millimeter less wide. Oh yeah, before I'm gonna do that, I'm going to put some pieces of double-sided tape on top just to protect the paper that I'm gonna put on top from those metal prongs. Careful, because this cardstock is thinner than I normally use, but the strip on top will make it sturdier. Make sure that the tape part is fixed really well around those brads. And I put some glue on my strip. Make sure your edges are really well done. And put it into place. Yeah. And then carefully mold that paper around the thickness of those prongs. You can also use the black cardstock instead if you want to keep things black. That will hide everything as well. I feel I really have to mold the edges around, but once it sticks, it'll stick. So use enough glue for sure. I think with the smaller one, because this one is a bit more narrow, I'm gonna do the same, but I'm going to put some double-sided tape on the whole strip actually instead of glue stick. That will stick even better. Yeah, but this one's good. So I'm gonna do exactly the same with this one, but my strip is now only 1/2 inch wide because the spine is narrower than that one. So I'm already going to put some double-sided tape on this one. Nicely right up to that edge. There. I'm gonna take it off. And I still need to cover a tiny little bit, which I'm gonna do with this smaller tape, but I can layer them on top of each other, so no problem there. Just need to make sure that I don't stick myself to this too much. Okay, there. And this will stay sticky for a long time to come, so no problem. I have time enough to first put my brads in. Of course, you can do that later. Didn't have to do that now already. Okay, so I'm going to put my brads through these holes. Okay, and now since everything is nothing glue stick, but everything is tape, I have to be perfect from the first time. Could put some glue stick on top, but I think I can do it. Yeah, well done. If you're not sure, just put a good layer of glue stick on top as well. Yeah. Take small brads for this because it's already just enough to hide those tiny prongs. I thought I would have a bit more space. Yeah, it works, but it's quite bulky. It's bulkier than I thought. But I am happy with your end result. Look. Look. Look, 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 look. There. Okie dokie. And now I want to put a pocket here, a very narrow pocket that can hold an envelope holder. And for that, I'm just going to take this piece. And these pockets here that are holding the journals are 1/4 inch thick. This one we're only going to make 1/8 inch thick. So I'm going to score on 3 sides, the sides and the bottom, at 1/2 and then 5/8. This will make for a very shallow pocket. There. I'm going to turn these into tabs again, so I'm going to miter that corner a little bit. Actually, I'm first going to cut off, or better cut out these corners. That makes it easier. So I will cut out, not at the first fold, but the second fold, all the way to that second fold. So cut out this whole thingy here. And then you can very clearly see where you can miter those corners. Just up to the first fold, not further, on all 3 sides. There you go. Then I'm gonna fold these. There, open it up. And on the front, I'm going to put some double-sided tape on each of those tabs, close to the fold. There. Yeah, I just noticed that the pocket that I made was a little bit too wide. No worries, the measurements you got on the screen were the right ones. Now, before I'm going to assemble it, I'm already going to glue on the panel on the front as well. It's just a little bit easier to do that when it's not assembled yet. Then we don't squish, there we are again, the pockets. There. It's just much easier like this. So very simple pocket with very simple panel on top. Okie dokie. And now we're going to remove these tab backings. And I'm first going to push the sides in, and then already I am going to glue the bottom on top, and I'm going to do that as straight as possible. And I'm gluing the bottom on top because, so make again sure that these corners are straight, because when I slide something in there, it won't catch between this edge. But what I am going to do though is I'm going to put a little bit of tape at the back here as well. Now already. You won't see it. So like this. It's a bit tricky what I'm about to do. Make it a bit smaller. So it's a bit tricky what I'm about to do, but I have here the sticky side up and just glue it over that edge. And when I'm going to put this into place all at once in the same moment, this edge will have a smooth covering. And now I'm going to place it so in the center and against the bottom. I have a little bit left on the left and the right. Just like this, okay? I'm not squishing the sides, I'm just squishing the centers and going in with something. Oh, that's too short. Yeah, that's better. To push down the sides and to push down that tape that I just put in there. There, okay. That's good, happy with that. And now I can just slide this one in here. That's the panel that I have for underneath. And glue that in. I can just slide that one in there a little bit. It will cover those tabs on the side so that they're not in the way. And I'm just going to make sure I have my 1/8 inch 3mm border all around. There we have it. That's it. Nice little pocket for our envelope holder. Okay, now let's make the envelope holder that we're going to put in here. Put this aside for a bit. And I have here a piece of cardstock, and if I fold it in half, it will actually perfectly fit in here, slide in here well enough, etc. So I'm just going to score it nicely down the center. And then fold in half. And this should fit right in here very nicely. And because this pocket is an 1/8 of an inch thick, it has some room to actually have some things in here, and that's the whole idea. Okay, I'm gonna open it up, and I have these simple pockets that I'm just going to glue in. I'm keeping this really simple. If you want to put some panels in here as well, do that first before gluing these in. I'm just going to put some panels on top of the pockets and also on the front and back of this envelope holder. So if you want some panels under the pockets as well, glue these in now. And then I'm simply going to put some double-sided tape along the edges of the bottom and the sides. Very easy. And now I'm going to align the top, bottom and the side completely with the edges of this holder. Same here. I used my 1/4 of an inch 6mm tape so that I have a lot of room in the pockets. There. And I cut these pieces to glue on top of the pockets. You can actually add a notch in here first if you want. I chose not to do that. And I'm simply going to glue those on. This is actually a very simple holder. You can also create it separately. The center here to make those pockets stand out. The other one as well. And now I'm also going to glue on the front and back cover here, and actually chose parts of this horizontal paper. You see, there's a little piece missing in the center, like something like that. But for the rest, it's actually most of a paper. And I think, yeah, I'm going to switch them around because in book form, I think it works better this way. Of course, you choose exactly which panels you will put where. There. Now I have my envelope holder. And of course, if we have an envelope holder, we need some envelopes to put in there. And these are the freebies that you get. If you opt in with the link in the description, you will get not only all the measurements that you need, but also these printables. There's also optionally a back design included, an old paper one. If you think that's too much ink, just leave that, because a lot of these envelopes you won't see anyway, and then you can add some ink or something to hide the stark white. So I'm going to show you how to make one. So I'm just going to cut this one out first. So I cut the outer edges with my paper trimmer, and then the rest I can do by hand. So this one's cut out, and now I'm going to score these 4 lines. Now, there are not really scoring lines on there, just a light shadow, but that's not enough. The idea is to score from corner to corner to corner to corner, etc. So I'm gonna do that right now. There. Gonna fold these. You know, you can also use these separately and put a little trick or treat thingy in there, as long as it's flat. So a piece of candy won't be able to fit in here, of course. Okay, if you like, you can ink the edges again, especially on the inside for the flap, that has a bit more definition. Outside as well, you can even score, what am I saying, ink these folding lines if you want to. Okay, it closes like this, and I am just going to put some double-sided tape on the edge here of this middle part. That's all. Or you can use some glue stick as well, maybe that's faster. There, and close, like this. You have your little envelope. If these are bothering you, they're not bothering me, but you can cut these more at an angle like this. That's up to you. There, and then these fit nicely in here. You can put a few here, even a few on top of each other, a few here. You have your nice little envelope holder. Okay, I'm going to make the other 3 envelopes as well. So these are ready as well, so I can just put them in here. Maybe 2 here and 2 here. You can add more, you just print more of these free sheets, of course. There. And now let's bring this in here. Like this. There, and then everything is ready. You can put some ephemera and cards into these pockets. There's quite a bit of room in there, so you can really fill this up. You can also add another pocket here on top if you like, put something else in there. And we're ready. Just need to close this. There. There's just one thing. I am not sure if the panel that I chose for the back cover is the right one, so I'm gonna change it out. And since I only, I think, used glue stick, I might be able to pry it loose. I will have stuff like this, but I'm going to cover it up with this one again. Again, I printed this paper just at 75% instead of 100%. Yes, I'm doing this. So always when you're doing stuff like this, tear it off to the inside so that you don't damage this edge here. And then you'll be good. The rest you can cover up with the other panel. Look, normally this glue stick will last for a long time. It's just because I'm literally tearing it off that I get it off easy-ish, maybe. And again, I'm going to put a little bit of double-sided tape just where this ribbon is. It's gonna come here. Just a piece that will definitely cover the ribbon part nicely along the edge there. And then for the rest, I'm just going to add some glue stick here. Okay. Now let's see if we can hide all the white stuff. Oh, perfectly. Yes. Okay. I'm happy that I changed that out. Okay, I hope you really like this tutorial. I love this project so much. I think it looks so good. If you have friends that might like to make this as well, just give them the link to this video. Also, if you like the PDF with all the measurements and the free envelopes as well, just opt in via the link in the description and they are yours. And then I wish you a very, very beautiful day. Bye-bye.